They did great.
I call the June 9th, 2026 meeting of the Park Board to order. Consider a motion approval for the minutes from the May 12th, 2026 Park Board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve these minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to second approve the minutes. Oh, sorry. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to second approve the minutes. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The first item on the agenda is the discussion of the farmer's market. Park Board, you got,
Yes, just so everybody knows, there is something going wrong with the YouTube tonight. I don't know why, so I have to get that figured out. But it should have sound, but for some reason it's not switching to video. Before you, there's handouts for you guys, and the farmer's market's not close to being ready for you to have a final rendering. The survey came in late for the architect to be able to do a lot of work, but the architect did provide something before he had the survey. That's why the dimensions aren't even close to what the survey shows, nor is there topography, so you don't know the slope of the land yet. We got to deal with elevation quite a bit, so there's going to be some retaining wall that'll need to go in. But this gives a kind of an idea we can talk about and make sure we're all on the same page. If you look at the this sheet here, he shows how he's kind of got the parking. One thing I've thought about is instead of having, even if the vehicles were to park this way or angled, we want kind of a one-way traffic. But we also could make it to where we put some RV hookups for food vendor trucks. So this, we could stage this like a big L for the food vendors when we're not using it as a farmer's market. Or at the same time, we start really limiting parking for the farmer's market if we do food trucks at the same time. But kind of a multi-purpose space as opposed to, just have thinking farmer's market, think maybe also the food trucks or something like that. So you'll see more information on this. I hope we'll have a July meeting because we'll need to continue on with the farmer's market discussion, and the architect believes he'll have more information done. He's doing it almost free, so we really appreciate he's a local person, and so we're kind of at his mercy at this point. But it's just give him a couple weeks and he should get farther along with it. The main thing is he needs to know if the flow of traffic looks good. You see there's a kind of a drawing of what he proposes of the shelter. We don't have to go with this style of shelter, but his idea was that the vendors would park in the back and then the people would be able to walk up to the front and be served. One idea is that shade structures are much cheaper than a structure like that. Obviously, it wouldn't last as long, but they are eye-catching if we can be as exciting about it as we wish. And so we could look at those options versus a wood structure like that, or even a metal building. The other thing to think about shade structures, it does create a lot more staff time. They have to be taken down before winter and then put back up. So there is that, and storage of the shade. Main thing is the layout. If everybody kind of likes that one way in, one way out, then we'll work out the parking. We'll work out the size of the shaded area. I don't think we can do it any other way than one way, other than maybe you could change the direction, but then you have people exiting so close to the railroad track, it's kind of not recommended, or there people come in that's that close to the railroad track. Do you guys have any questions? You like the layout? Would you like to see something kind of different?
did you say something about the parking spots, like instead of being perpendicular to make them
Angled or
angled?
something. Yeah, could stripe it for angled parking so it kind of flows better with the one way. And then we could put a different colored line for the food trucks. So like we could say, food truck A has this much space. You can't overlap into another one or something like that. But we could kind of work through those details.
What kind of hookups would you add for the food trucks?
So
Like with just water, electricity?
Just electricity, if we even have the capability of putting much there, but there might be a couple drops that we could do. There is electricity there. I just don't know the amperage yet and what Evergy be willing to provide, or if there's enough there. Hopefully we have enough to get some power into underneath the shade area for the food vendors, and then have some for the food trucks. A lot of the food trucks have their generators, so they're not reliant completely on that, but they would like it, I'm sure.
So if there wasn't an event scheduled there, like if it was for September Fest and they just wanted to use it for parking, like, would they then be able to utilize those spaces for the vendors on the backside, or?
Assuming whoever's putting on the, like, say, the chamber, they didn't want to use that space for some event, then yeah, it'd be open parking.
Okay,
But it would also allow people a place to then to go into the lick skillet areas and get their food and then come back and have a place to sit down and eat too, because we'll have some type of seating there.
we would,
Yeah, at least a few picnic tables or something to, all that amenity stuff can go into after we get the layout, the size of the shade structures, then we can start looking at what amenities can go in.
Are we going to be planning to do anything with shrubs, plantage, plants, anything like that, trees?
Trees probably be very limited, because it's the location is so tight that obviously we got to also be aware of water runoff and stuff like that. So there's a lot already going into it, and I think some greenery somewhere, maybe even a little buffer between the road and that. We can kind of get down that a little later once we see how the traffic flow goes and it starts laying out. Once you have your minimum widths for your street, or the flow, then you can start looking at around that. There's also been discussion, if you remember in the past, about some type of privacy fence towards the west of the property. So that's to be considered. That's another one of those amenities that could be plugged in at whatever point. I think the first step after we iron this out is we'll have a site plan where we can get the elevation and the grade work started. And then from there, you do your foundations and your concrete work or asphalt.
so my only concern with the drawing of it is it gonna be in a direction that it would add shade? I mean,
So this structure is, the lengthways goes east to west, so you get more of that. Obviously, on the west side, you'd have the early morning shade more so than so if you put the structure the other way, you'd never, unless it's direct overhead. So really, the way that sits, the east to west is ideal for
Your
it.
property deeper than it is wider.
Yeah. It almost has to as well with the slope, because we're fighting that grade that's running to the north.
They don't know the grade there yet.
He does now. He just didn't have time to plug it in and do more site plan. So he provided kind of what he'd done before he had the survey. And then his words was he's been really busy. He's only had about a little over a week with the survey done. And he just hasn't been able to get on this on top of his real job.
This might be a bit premature, but is there any plan to put any kind of like fencing between the railroad tracks and that side of the parking lot?
So we'll look at that. I think that's a possibility, or that could be the greenery, like shrubs or something like that, to add some type of sound. But I don't know. There may be some limitations with the railroad company, what they want. I think shrubs would be okay, but anything too large, I don't think they want. But we'll have to find that information out.
And I'm just thinking about the proximity and, people walking over there or even kids walking over there.
Right, yep.
Granted, you'll hear it and see it a
Well,
long time coming, but
Pretty certain there will be a retaining wall that's on that side, because we have to split it at 2 points, a retaining wall up there by the railroad tracks, and then a retaining wall down there by by the street, not Broadway, but the other street. And so, because there's quite a bit of a slope.
yeah, okay.
So then I would envision on top of the retaining wall that's by the railroad tracks is be the nice place to put the shrubs. So then you got an extra layer that you're speaking of.
I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah, it's a good addition.
Well, at the next meeting, we'll have a better rendering and hopefully some 3D images and stuff like that. And with that being said, the structure, like I said, we can get really crazy with it, but the site plan needs to be done, and then we can look at the shade structures versus what he proposed, or even a metal, and kind of look at the cost.
And then the same with the, would it be asphalt or concrete or?
So I think some of it, like your sidewalks and stuff would be your concrete and then maybe the pad underneath, whatever the shade structure or the, whatever that is. And then outside of that, we would asphalt as much as we could, except for what's curbed.
But they'll figure out what to do with the water runoff,
Yeah,
with the grade.
yeah. Well, I'll just ask him to come up with even if we have to pipe it underground or something like that, something to catch some of the water or have a way to collect it and let it slowly release. Because we're changing from a surface that's absorbing water to a runoff, so it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is discussion of the shade structure.
So I have to explain a little bit. So was real excited, thought I had it all done. Then I went and did a site survey and found we had some problems the first shade structures that we were coming up with that were 20 feet wide cantilever over at the Webb Park was going to be too close to the playground. We would have had to put it way out in the grass. So there's minimums that we have to maintain for safe play. And so I had to get the numbers redrafted today. But my memo kind of states there about, it tells you how much money is budgeted for the project. It talks about Webb Park and Frick Park. We'll go through Webb Park real quick. There's the way the cantilevers is what I'm proposing. And this is after talking to 3 different companies. They all kind of steered the same way. The artistic looking shade structures, the ones that everybody's excited to see, don't provide much shade. They have light that comes through. It gets kind of frustrating if you really are there for some shade, trying to get out of the sun. It's not so much welcomed. So on the play structure, since our goal was shade, I didn't look at having something really fancy. The play structure itself is fancy enough, in my opinion, and I just want to share that with you to make sure that's kind of what you guys are thinking. With that being said, the Webb Park structure is very tall, so we can't get over the structure. All we can do is try to shade the east and the west, and then maybe possibly put one on the north. And that will provide kind of a perimeter shade that people can then get out of the sun. It's mostly for your parents that are watching the kids play. The kids are just too busy. They don't really care about the sun, and there is some shade with the structure, but I figured with the color, we'd match the play structures best we could. So it doesn't take away from the play structure, but also kind of blends in. The estimated cost for the Webb Park, if we did 5 structures, is around $43,000. That's with us installing the structure. That's purchasing the structure through the cooperative purchase agreement. I asked all 3 vendors to provide their cooperative purchase agreement, so not only did we could do it just one, we've also got 2 competitive bids to the one we would select. I don't have those numbers before me now, but what would go before the Board of Aldermen would be the lowest price of those 3. They're very similar in style. There's not much difference between any company. Does anybody have any questions on Webb Park, on the cantilever? So it cantilevers out, and it'll be about 10 feet out. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's your average picnic table will take care of that. So, and then we're looking at they're 18 feet long. So some of them are 20, depending on which vendor it is. So there's another option where one vendor might be able to do a 3-pole that's 36 feet long. It might save a little bit of money versus 4 poles that do almost the same distance, if that kind of makes sense.
As for placement, are these just going to surround the play structure?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We have a 7-foot restriction, so if we get within 7 feet of a surface height of any of the play structure, then it's a violation, so.
Makes sense.
And with that structure being so tall, kids can get to that,
The peak and try to
Yeah.
jump over or do something they shouldn't.
yep,
Yeah. Sounds like something I would have done.
right.
Crazy.
Any questions on Webb before we go to Frick?
But it would cover whatever benches are already there?
So depending on how it's laid out, I'm guaranteed it'll cover some of the benches. We may have to add additional benches if we need more seating, as well as we've got potential to put kind of a picnic tables and or at least one picnic table in one of the corners. And we'll look at that. So we'll put the shade structures up and then we'll add additional seating because that's one of the things people would like to have some more seating always, so. Ready for Frick?
Yeah.
So we talked about the shade structures for the poured in place, these 2 to 12-year-old age group. That's the small unit. That's the newest one over there. It has a lot of shade for the structure itself. The most dominating request that we get or the need is shade that's not for the playground, but for people that want to either sit there and have lunch and watch their kids play. If the board would welcome it, I've looked at a shade structure. It's another one of the solar shades. It's a hip, and it would cover the distance between the two playgrounds, and it would allow us to put picnic tables underneath it and concrete within the budget. So it's a 30 by 44 or something like that hip shade structure. So your 4-post shade structure is pretty economical, but the problem is they're not very tall, right? That's why we couldn't get over that large play unit we currently have. We just can't get tall enough. So in this situation, it's not a fancy, but it looks like a shelter, and it's a structure that we'll have to canvas, that we'll have to put on, take down, but it would provide a lot of shaded area and some places for people to sit. If you notice that picnic table that's out there, it moves wherever the shade goes. It kind of just moves with it. This would allow permanent shade.
I like that idea.
Yep.
So we would install the shade structure, the post, and then we'd have concrete poured, and assuming the Board of Aldermen would support that, then that's what we would move forward with and get completed this year.
And is that something you guys are thinking just by the end of the summer starting on, or if it?
Right,
gets-
so
if gets
once it goes
approved?
before the board and gets approved, then there's two, I don't believe there's any delay on the hip shade structure at all. In fact, most of the vendors were saying these would go out fairly quick. It's not like some other things. Assuming that's correct, and once we get the poles in so we can set them, then the rest of it goes rather fast. I don't have a timeline, but I don't know of any delays.
You know the cost of what the concrete would be before?
So, yeah, I put it in there. We would still have, if we did so if we did the shade structures at Webb and shade structures at Frick, we have a balance of $28,500 left over for footings and the concrete pad. The concrete pad is estimated at $12,672. So we will never even touch $15,000 in footings for all the poles. So we'll have money left over even after that's done. So we could then look at buying those tables or something like that to kind of finish off that project.
That's perfect.
It looks good.
And then would you guys do the concrete, or is that hired?
No, so we will do something like, we did the concrete for the tee boxes or the disc throw. That's about all the extent that I would want. I like the finished look. It lasts better. It looks better, and it's uniform, so we would contract that out. There's an art to that. I will always say that for sure. Any other questions or ideas on either project?
Any idea on the cost efficiency on, because I'm assuming the cans is gonna get replaced first and, all the support will be fine. Do you have
So-
like an average life expectancy for those and?
Because we take them down, like they'll fade, but they have, like, we've got them at the pool, and we're in our 7th season, right? 8th season, and so they don't show any signs of failing.
No.
We had if you notice, the cantilever ones at the pool this year, they got put up later because we were missing a bolt, and then a plastic part on another one. So we had to wait on those parts to come in, but those were lost because the storm was so bad over the winter that it unscrewed and just went away. So had never happened before, but so that was a little bit of delay. We got those parts in and put them up. So I would say well over 10 years we're looking at before
I mean, if
anything
you're already
major.
at 8 and you're just seeing it fade, that's not bad.
Yeah,
I'd be worried about something like that, just getting ripped up and having to be replaced every year.
yeah, they're, obviously if someone went out to vandalize it, we'd have problems, but other than that, they're not in a place where any tree limbs or stuff like that can fall on it either, so that's probably a good thing to remember as well.
Is it possible to do a little bit of both, but just not as many structures at Webb Park? Because how many benches are at Webb Park? Around there, is it like three or two, or anything like that?
I want to say there's 6 over there.
Or six?
Yeah.
All right.
There's a few lined up, I think, on that south side, past the swing sets beneath those trees.
So when it comes to Webb, we can look at that. Those benches aren't too expensive, even if that came out of the park building and ground budget we could still add for there. I think with what's remaining, if things go well, we'll have enough to put some picnic tables under there and add benches if need be at Webb.
Yeah, I think if you try to tackle both, but not to the full extent, you know, a little here and a little there, because, I mean, looking at numbers, there are more people that go to Webb Park and utilize that more than the Frick Park, you know? So I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, like, which would get utilized
You
more
know, the
quick,
kind
but not.
of, believe it or not, if you just look at the numbers, it's already kind of breaking down that way as far as like, you know, we're over $40-some thousand in the shade structures at Webb. And if you look at the shade structure costs with the concrete, I mean, it's almost split middle, but really you're getting more money invested into the Webb with the shade than you really are at Frick. Frick's that type of structure is gonna actually bring more activity to it because people really want a pavilion down there. And this is an economical way to have kind of a pavilion, but it's not a pavilion with the same effect. There's also a drinking fountain there, so I could see where people start requesting that they can rent that space like you do a pavilion anywhere else.
And that's the reason why I said what I said, because I know if we get that structure there and more people come there, they're gonna ask for more things, like additional water fountain, better access to a restroom, electricity to that pavilion to plug in and things right there to where it's a good thing, but it's gonna evolve to something bigger
Well,
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Let's also remember soccer's starting back up, getting stronger and stronger, so we're gonna start seeing more requests for improvements to that area, for sure.
But I think that's a good thing.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, I'm saying it is a good thing, I'm just, which one we wanna attack faster, which won't,
Well, we've had pavilions down at Webb Park, I mean, way back, that didn't have electricity. It's only been, last 15 or 20 years that
correct.
they've even provided electricity. People still use them. I mean, they still would have activities, birthday parties, whatever, under them, even without that. So I think as long as there's a water fountain and there's shade, then
because I know the water fountain's on the
part of it.
other side of the park, so I
No,
don't.
it's up
I
to,
mean, on the other side of the play structure.
yeah, correct.
So, and then, I don't know, and then I'm thinking about lighting, because if you got a structure that's shaded like that, and kids or whoever sneaks in, be able to see it from the street or anything like that, I'm thinking out loud, I'm just thinking about all pros and cons of, because I don't think we have very much lighting inside Frick Park other than the parking lot, right?
Right. So the lighting's a kind of catch-22. Obviously, with the shade structure going up, it would help for people using the facility, but right now, it's kind of dusk to dawn, right? Dawn to dusk, I'm sorry. And so when the sun sets, really, people are leaving there because it's too dark, other than the parking area. So if lighting's a little bit of a challenge because you don't want to take away from what's the sport athletic play. And we also don't want to try to make it where they can see enough to where they're playing later than they should.
That's true.
So I think we'll wait for some of those comments to come to us saying we want this or want that. It's kind of a rabbit hole, like we have to then talk to the neighbors and say about their thoughts on some lighting. As well as when we get carrying on with the master plan and doing trails, and like we're doing in Webb Park with the inner trails, at some point, people may be asking for some of the trails to have
Lighted.
lighting. So we could address some of the soft lighting that way. as well.
All right. So, you good? So do we need to make a recommendation to go to the board on this part?
I would appreciate if you guys could give me a recommendation.
All right. Do we have a recommendation to propose one of these to the park? You got to say the full thing that you're proposing.
I recommend that we take it to the Board of Aldermen, women, that,
Yeah, like the Frick Park.
both structures, yes.
As like the memorandum, but my memo to you guys, do you like how that's,
Yes,
okay?
I think that's perfect.
All right. We have a motion to first. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. There is no new business items to discuss, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Is there a park director report?
Yes, so a couple things. Obviously, our largest event of the year is coming up, July 3rd, for the fireworks, the 250th year celebration. We're looking to increase face painting. Obviously, the fireworks show is going to be larger. We're making improvements to the sound system where a DJ can hook into some speakers that will really broadcast the sound, so you should be able to hear it throughout better. Anybody have any questions on? We've talked to the vendor. They're ensuring that there's not going to be any issues with whatever water features are provided, that they will be the safe ones, not the ones that went awry. Anybody have any questions? Scouts are handling traffic, parking. Police will be there. Scouts and parking, sorry, the police will be handling traffic. Dana, everything else is in place. The hot air balloon's going to be there. Everything's shaping up rather well.
And still running shuttle from here to there?
Yes, yep.
And you know how, is it like every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes?
They tend to run it just as fast as, like they don't want people waiting. So and then it gets to where they just pull in, pick up a crowd, go, and then they come right back.
How many shuttle buses?
So we did,
Just one that does a constant loop. We did put out that if people are going to come to the event but leave before the fireworks, we ask that they park at City Hall and use the shuttle bus to not take up parking at the event location.
we've had several problems with people leaving right as the show's getting ready to start.
We tend to cut off the ability to come in the park at 9:20ish to hopefully stop traffic from causing an issue.
And then you're posting that on the Facebook page?
Yes, it's posted on the event.
Okay. So we've completed concrete work at Webb Park. That's at the corner of 19th and Oak Ridge. And then we also completed concrete work at Frick Park. We still have to backfill and seed and clean it up a little bit. Once the numbers all come in and I'm able to tabulate the balance that's left over, going to be asking if the board would allow us to then pave the asphalt that's going into the T-ball field from that Top Hat parking lot in Webb Park that we've put the gravel, and it would then connect to the new trail. We put a pipe in, we've added rock, so that trail could now be connected if the funds work out. So it should be getting those numbers in soon to where we can do the tabulation and see what's money's available. It looked like it was feasible, so that's why we went further with that. Does anybody have any questions on that? Or the T-ball project, I think, has been one of those things that everybody's extremely happy with. The outfield fence, spectators like it more. The bridge is beautiful to look at, even though it's old. It just kind of fits in. I think it's really been a major improvement to that area of the park. Drinking fountain at basketball court, parts have been ordered. It's damaged, so if we turn it on, it just runs nonstop. We thought we could get it fixed. We had to order parts. I got the parts. Now we got to try to get the parts installed. We're having problems getting one of the bubblers off, so once we get that off, we'll get it corrected. There was some covers on the light poles at the basketball court that they were plastic that came that way with the poles. People have broke those covers off, whether they're trying to get the copper wire out or what. So I've got the steel tamper resistant plates coming in. Hopefully, they'll be here soon. As soon as they come in, they'll get installed, and that'll take care of that. The graffiti on the court, they're actually doing it with like your scooters. They're using the power of the wheel, and then they're burning the rubber to make graffiti onto the court. A little more difficult to remove, but we did work on that. So we still have paint, so we can also touch it up that way. Just kind of one of those things. And then our liaison's not here tonight, but we did meet before the last board meeting with Lee McAllister of the Tractor Pull Association, and we talked to several things. It was a very open meeting. Eric was there as well. I think the meeting went overall pretty well. I didn't really see any issues. If they want a fence, they can help work towards getting a fence. We're going to get them the numbers on what the estimated cost would be. It was discussed, a fence to a degree, and we're looking like some type of picket fence where it is pleasing to the eye, but yet would stop the horses or animals or people coming and going. And then after the fence, we'd have to do some type of gates if they want to close the gates and stuff. But right now, that's just kind of where it's at. But I wanted to inform you guys so you knew what was going on. Does anybody have any questions about that or any other ideas? We do know that also talking about that area, we now have 2 saddle clubs. The old one is gone and disbanded, and now there's 2 that have taken its place. They submitted dates. We have their dates. Their dates are confirmed but not guaranteed until we get their insurance in hand, and we believe that's coming very soon.
Is that dates for events or for?
For their events, yeah. It gives, they schedule it obviously for themselves and for us so we can prepare the arena up to hopefully this weather changes to where
Not muddy?
it works for all of us, yeah. That's all I have, and if anybody has any questions on any of that.
Thank you. Is there a liaison report? Are there any board member reports? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.